Here at the beginning of his letter, James says that Christians can have joy in the midst of struggle. Now, I know all of us have our fair share of struggle right now. It's been a really challenging time for all of us, and it can be frustrating, and we can ask questions like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? But James offers a little bit different perspective. Here, right at the beginning of his letter, he's sending this to people who have been going through challenges in life. They've been going through struggles. They've been persecuted for their faith. And the very first thing after his introduction, after he says greetings, the very first thing he says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. So he's saying that when they come across trials and difficulties, their response should be joy. That trials actually, it's like trials are something that's positive, that contributes to their joy. That seems a little bit weird. Why should they have joy? Well, anytime that you see for here, this is pointing us back. It's giving a reason for what has been said in the verse before. So we can have joy in those trials. Why? For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. So these are not just trials and testing for trial's sake. It's not struggle for struggle's sake. This is actually producing something. Trials and testing here are working together to produce something. Now, think about whenever you're taking a test in one of your classes. You may think that a teacher's just doesn't like you and so is making the test really hard. But what the test is actually trying to do is actually trying to produce something in you. It's actually trying to make you smarter. It's trying to help you know something. It's producing knowledge. So when you take a test, there's a goal there that you express that you have learned these certain things. Well, in this case, the testing is actually producing something called steadfastness. And steadfastness is just this idea that you can be strong in the midst of instability, that you can stand firm in the midst of difficulty and in the midst of trial and tribulation. Now, don't we all want that? We want to be the kind of person that can stand strong no matter what is happening all around us. And we can be joyful. This is why we can count it all joy. We can be joyful because we know that in these tests it's going to produce this great fruit of steadfastness. But it's not steadfastness for steadfastness' sake either. That's not the end goal here. You see, it keeps on going. And it's great to be able to stand fast joyfully in the midst of these things. But it says, let steadfastness, same thing, have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So let's talk about have its full effect. This is like, you know how an athlete takes an ice bath? It's a crazy thing that I never want to have to do. But athletes say it's really great. They actually jump in this giant bath of ice, and it helps their body to heal, and it helps them to not be as sore. And I don't know all the science of it, but it seems weird to me. But what I would do is I would jump in that ice bath, and I'd be like, oh, nope, I'm out of here. And I would jump right out. But what he's saying here is let it have its full effect. In order for the ice bath to have its full effect, you have to jump in it, and you have to sit, and you have to let it soak. You have to let the cold run through your body. That's going to let it have its full effect on your body. So whenever we're encountering trials of various kinds, whenever we're going through these testing times, and it's producing steadfastness in us, we need to let it have its full effect. We can try and wiggle out of it or try to ignore it. We can try to get out of all the struggle. But instead, we can joyfully lean in and recognize God is using this to make me more like Him. That God is actually has a purpose for it, that there's a good effect of this. And what is that good effect? Well, it says that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. That's pretty amazing. These words point to, this is where we get the idea that James is about us becoming whole Christians, perfect and complete. That this isn't saying that in this life you're never going to sin. No, it's very clear you're going to sin in this life. We are not perfect yet. But we are able to, through the power of the Holy Spirit, become more and more whole Christians. We can become more and more like Jesus. And as we walk through the struggles and the trials of this life, we can have joy because if you know Jesus, whatever you are going through right now, God is using it. It's God's way of making you into a whole Christian that stands fast, joyfully in the faith, even in the midst of great trial.